Thank you very much, Lali Hussain. Thanks so beautifully, so nicely. Thank you.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Krishna. Everybody can sing. We can sing. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama.
Harinam Sankirtan Ki. All of this was to have more longer kirtan. That's the reason behind chaos.
Welcome everyone.
There's some balcony seats up there, if you can't see.
Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to Shatrupa Mataji for such a wonderful kirtan. Haribo. As Maharaj mentioned, there are some steps here. If someone needs a chair, then we can use the steps and some seating up there as well. So we will have some more space very soon when the children go downstairs, so there'll be more space as well. Yes. So today we're very blessed to have a very special guest amongst us, and because there's so much to say about it, I just wrote something so it'll be easier for those of you who are newer here. His Holiness Romapat Swami is a Vaishnav sannyasi monk, a senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada, an initiating spiritual master in ISKCON. His Holiness has been practicing Bhakti Yoga for more than 50 years. Many congregational programs, Sunday schools, corporate and college outreach programs, book distribution drives have sprouted and flourished under his direction. His Holiness travels regularly all over the world, inspiring thousands of people by illuminating them on the path of devotional service. Let's give Romapat Swami a very warm welcome. Haribo!
Friday night. A lot of guests from a lot of places. Some way back over there. Can you see the screen? I don't know how you're going to see the screen from over there. There's some balcony seats up here. Looks like really choice places. And if the kids do what kids are going to probably do, you'll be more space inside here.
Excuse me, 2996 starting.
Whoa!
The children can go downstairs. There's a nice program for them. And Also, I just wanted to quickly mention while that's happening, a few other very wonderful guests that we have with us. Here on the side, we have Ravin Prabhu. He is actually, so Srila Prabhupada came on a freighter ship and he used the help of Sumati Moralji. And in his company, in a ship company, there was a gentleman who was her assistant, who encouraged her to give Srila Prabhupada the free passage. Ravin Prabhu is his son.
Wow.
And carrying on the family tradition, his household business is running a limousine service. And he has a limousine business, so he continues to carry special guests. We also have Himangi Mataji, Her Grace Himangi Mataji amongst us. We're very honored to have her. Many of you already know her. Her and Nityananda Pran Prabhu are very senior devotees in our Krishna consciousness movement. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you. And we have many other very distinguished guests here, too many to mention, so I'll let Maharaj now continue. Once again, the children can go downstairs, and please come in.
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasad Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So I was prepared for two basic categories of persons assembling this evening. Some of our regular devotees here in Naperville and surrounding areas, and some persons that are not so experienced with our ISKCON activities, but looking around the room, everybody is from India or non-resident Indian families. So Ramayana is suited for everybody. The topic that I'd like to speak about is the special compassion of Lord Ramachandra. And there's many things to say about the special compassion of Lord Ramachandra, but I'll just cover a few of those very special points. Those of you that are not familiar with ISKCON's lineage and writings within our lineage and things like that, I'll introduce you to Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami, in our disciplic line, was the next in line after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There were several, but he was superlative amongst them in many ways. And one of the writings that he was directed to compile is a very comprehensive teaching on science of bhakti, or even more specifically, bhakti rasa. He wrote a book where the bhakti rasa, the mellow, the happiness one experiences from engaging in devotional service to Krishna, is like an ocean. Sindhu, an ocean of bhakti rasa. And he also described it as being very wonderful, very nectarian, or amrita. So bhakti rasa, amrita sindhu was one of his chief works amongst many such works. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has a description. Many of you know who is Bharatanatyam dancing is drawn from Bharata Muni, and he, through the features of dance, was very keen on awakening the moods of transcendental emotion in relation to Krishna through dance. So Bharatanatyam, many of our devotee children, girls usually, become skilled in that. So Bharata Muni was one of the oldest writers of the science of bhakti rasa, and Rupa Goswami drew from his writings and expanded a bit and established that there are 12 rasas, 7 secondary, 5 primary. Generally 5 plus 7 is 12, right? 12 rasas. And amongst those 12 rasas, on the secondary rasa category, one of them is Karuna rasa. Karuna rasa, the rasa of compassion. And in his writing, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you see the reference, he indicates that each of those 12 have a presiding deity, and Lord Ramachandra is the presiding deity of Karuna rasa. And then he expands further on why that is so. But he is very compassionate. Specifically, commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu explains the feelings that he experienced when Sita was kidnapped, even though she wasn't kidnapped. We went through all this. A false Sita, a Maya Sita was kidnapped. But the drama, the Ramayana was Sita was kidnapped. So he wasn't just compassionate to Sita because she was kidnapped. He was compassionate by his very nature. So I thought because of the audience, I would spend a little bit of time sharing with you some contemporary people and what some contemporary people have to say about compassion. You see in the lower left corner, there's this fellow that I watched a few times. He's an employee for some Fortune 500 company. Maybe it's Microsoft or one of those. And he was an engineer, but now he's a full-time person teaching compassion for his company, within his company. And he was, explicitly he's a Buddhist. He doesn't, try to push Buddhism. He's just saying within Buddhist teachings, you analyze compassion, and there's these 3 parts. There's an affective part of compassion, there's a cognitive part of compassion, and there's a motivational part of compassion. I feel for you, I understand you, I want to do something for you. So in his TED Talk, he says all this in 20 minutes, and I'm going to say it in 3. He makes reference to a modern writer who's from good to great, Jim Collins. I've not read his book, but I've heard his name. And he takes these same 3 and distills it down to 2 to say that the book is about this Jim Collins that studied some of the best Fortune 500 countries, studied them over 10 years, and who went from good to great. And it's that when the leadership manifested compassion. Doesn't sound like corporate America. But that was what his, from good to great, was where the CEO was humble. That is, they took feedback from other people and adjusted things according to where wisdom can come from, etc. And the nature of ambition was that they want to do something that's going to be good for others, not just good for the profit margin. From good to great those were the characteristics, and he goes into it in the book. I didn't read the book. But compassion is something that, the point is, it has its place even in modern life. Of course, it's fading, but it has its place in modern life. There's a place in modern life for being compassionate. That's right. He's a Google employee, not Microsoft. So the compassion of Lord Ramachandra is superlative, like everything about Lord Ramachandra. It's superlative. And one of the primary objects, personalities who is recipient of Lord Ramachandra's compassion is Hanuman. Now, Hanuman is unique in every way. And because of the audience, I think I'll just share this. I visit China. I've been visiting China since 2010, a little interruption with pandemic, but now they've opened the doors again, so I'm going again this summer to China. And from visiting China, I've learned a few things about the overlap of Vedic culture and Chinese culture. And I won't list all of them, but one of them has to do with Hanuman. I learned that in China, for children that go to school, there's 4, not compulsory, but just standard books that everybody reads. It's like classic books that everybody reads, all the children read. And one of those 4 is called A Journey West. And without going into too much of the detail, way back in 600 AD, the Tang Dynasty, there was a pilgrim who was interested in getting the exact understanding of Buddhist teachings, because there were many varieties even then, what to speak of now. And so he made it an overland journey, and he kept careful notes and kept maps, and then came back. So he stayed for several years in one of the remaining monasteries in the place where Buddha was born and where he mainly taught. And there was an over 100-year-old gentleman that survived long enough to teach, and he took all these books with him back to China, and then had them translated into Chinese. So that's like a historical event. About 1,000 years passed, and then a more modern fellow came along and modernized it. So the same storyline of this great personality, but he then modernized it. And the first half of the modernized version is he met with the Monkey King. Everybody in China knows the Monkey King. And they relate the Monkey King to Hanuman, because it's Hanuman. It's just a retelling in a modern version. So they know, in China, they know about Hanuman. It's like, it's in their culture, the modern culture. But they don't know so much the Vedic version of Hanuman. But they do know that he's very benevolent and has mystic powers and very powerful and this and that and the other thing, and he does amazing things. So it's a very good way, just sharing, it's a very good way to reach Chinese audiences with the name Hanuman. Because they already know. It's like, oh, we know Hanuman, the Monkey King. The Chinese government, I don't know how it happened, but it happened. They gave permission, an ISBN, to print in Chinese Ramayana and Hanuman. Yogeshwar Prabhu, a god brother, when he was, during a period of his life, he was making children's books. Yogeshwar was making children's books before you started making children's books. And it nicely illustrated, so they gave an ISBN for that, and it's, it's on the back burner with printers because of government issues without going into it. But in one day, there'll be a Hanuman book for children, which means anybody, because he's a celebrity in mainland China, and Ramayana. When it's in the Ramayana is in the works. So, just sharing. Hanuman is a recipient of Ramchandra's compassion. And this embrace The scene of the embrace is after victoriously finding Sita, because took a long time to find Sita. And before, so they came back, and he brought an ornament from Sita, so Ram would know that Sita was found, because here's her ornament. And he gave it to Ram, told the whole story, and he said, I can't possibly repay you. Because it's part of, you'll hear as we go along this evening, it's part of Vedic culture. Someone does something, and you of course you say thank you, but cultured persons, they also offer something. It's just a cultural thing. It's not mercenary or business. It's just culture. So Ram says, I have nothing that I can offer you other than my embrace. That's this. And Hanuman looks very satisfied. What more could there be for Hanuman than Ram's compassionate embrace? There's a scene in Valmiki Ramayana and Kritivasan Ramayana that this picture illustrates. After Ram returned to Ayodhya and the coronation was taking place, in Uttarakhanda, there's a nice description. It's going to be Yuddhakanda. Ram had presented to Sita an excellent string of pearls, furnished with superior gems, shining like a beam of moonlight. That's the gems, along with the pearls. These two clean, beautiful, and lovely ornaments combined into one. Looking toward Hanuman, Sita, daughter of Janaka, having taken off the pearl string from her neck, because they were giving gifts to different persons, Sita repeatedly caught a glimpse of all the monkeys. Looking at her, Ram, who was acquainted with the gesture of another, spoke to Sita as follows. So he understood she wants a clue or some instruction from him what to do with this string of pearls that he gave to her. Dear Sita, give the pearl necklace to a person with whom you are pleased and in whom the following are ever present: sharpness, firmness, renown, dexterity, competence, modesty, prudence, virility, prowess, and intelligence. Sita's staring at Hanuman. The black-eyed Sita gave that pearl necklace to Hanuman. Hanuman, the foremost of all the monkeys, by wearing that necklace, which was as white as a heap of moonlight beams, shone brilliantly as a mountain slivered by a white cloud. Silvered by a white cloud. So this is Hanuman appreciating the necklace that he's received from Sita. Of course, Lakshman by his side and the others as well. And here's another version, or one can say it's an extension or a slightly different version. It's from the Kritivasa Ramayana, Lanka Kanda. Same, it's at the coronation time. It's a gift-giving procedure. Then Sita took out her hara, her necklace. It was of immense value. No one could value it in the universe. The very sight of the hara kept all the people amazed, and they started looking at one another. It had in it many gems, pearls, and precious stones. All the chief warriors looked at each other, contemplating as to who would get that hara, because gifts were being given to all the assembled personalities. To whom this hara would be presented? Thinking in her mind, Sita looked towards Ram and understood that he desired it to be given to anyone she liked. So these are Sita's contemplations. When everything was in the dark and no trace of Sita was available, who searched for her? When all of us were dead, who brought all of us back to life? The reference here from Valmiki Ramayana. After Ramachandra killed Ravan in battle, Hanuman brought the news to Mother Sita in the Ashok garden This brought her Sita back to life. So that's the reference. Considering all these facts, this hara should be given to such a person by which no one would feel small. Janaki then repeatedly looked towards Hanuman, who rushed towards Janaki and wore the hara around his neck. The neck of Maruti was decorated with it. Hanuman then bowed at the feet of Janaki. Then she blessed him thus: "You will enjoy eternal life and always remain free from pain and grief. The glory of Ram will last till the sun and the moon illumine the universe, and you will remain eternal. O Hanuman, I give you this boon. Wherever there would be the recitation of the name of Ram, you would be present at that place, irrespective of the distance. Till that time, the recitation continued." But it's not over yet. Holding the hara in his hands, Hanuman broke each and every gem in it by chewing it. Lakshmana laughed at this act of Hanuman. Annoyed, he spoke these words: "O Lord, I submit. Why have you adorned the neck of Hanuman with this garland? These monkeys by nature are counted among the animals. Why did you give this hara of gems to a monkey?" Sri Ram said, "Listen, O Lakshmana, you are dearer to me than my life. The reason for which Hanuman has broken the pearls of the hara is well known to him. You better ask Hanuman the reason in the presence of the court." Hanuman said, "Listen, O Lord Lakshmana, I received this hara, taking it to be priceless. Thereafter I found that Ram's name was nowhere to be found in it. The riches without the name of Ram have no value to me and should be discarded." Lakshman then observed, "O Hanuman, the name of Ram does not appear over your body. Then why are you keeping this body alive, O son of the wind god? Put an end to this body as well." On hearing this, Hanuman tore away his chest with his nails and projected it towards Lakshmana. After tearing out his chest before the audience, he projected that the name of Ram was inscribed in lakhs over each and every bone of his body. All the people there were surprised. Lakshmana, however, felt ashamed and bowed his head. Lakshmana said, "Oh, brave Hanuman, listen. There is no other devotee of Ram like you. You know Ram, and Ram is known to you. How could I know the limits of your glory?" Hanuman said, "I'm a forest monkey. I am the slave of Ram and a servant to you." Ram was amused at the talk of Hanuman. Now, celebrated many paintings, posters, things like that. You see Hanuman opening up his chest, and there's Sita and Ram in his chest. Now, I don't know where that's from. It's not from Kritivasan, because he opened and said on the every bone in his body is Ram's name. But anyway, he's in his heart. There's a very nice description, similar description. This is Hanuman. We had those of you that have been with us for past few days, taking a deep breath. We've had a little lively discussion about a certain verse from Mandukya Upanishad, where persons were paying attention to the second part and not to the first part. The first part says that one can't approach the personality of Godhead and gain his favor by scholarship, by extensive lecturing, and by austerities and sacrifices and rituals. One can't gain his attention and affection that way. But when someone is like Hanuman, then you gain his attention and affection. Anyways, he gives his compassion to everyone regardless. We'll see that in a moment also. But there's a very nice example of this found in Brihat Bhagavatamrita. For those of you that are a little newer, what's that? Brihat Bhagavatamrita. I mentioned Rupa Goswami at the very beginning, his writing of a book about bhakti, bhakti rasa, Amrita Sindhu. So Rupa Goswami had an elder brother. And as you know, in Vedic culture, the elder brother is looked up to. In fact, one is Vedic culture, one is subservient to the elder brother. The elder brother is the protector of the younger brother. Give protection and care and affection. So Sanatana Goswami wrote something like a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam and called it by the name Brihat, means big, Bhagavatamrita, the Amrita of Bhagavatam that's big, Brihat Bhagavatamrita. And there's a section in Brihat Bhagavatamrita that Krishna is giving a message or some service to Garuda. This is by Sanatana Goswami. It's written in the commentary, but the source of it is, once Lord Krishna and Dwaraka wanted to break the pride of Garuda and others by showing the steadfast exclusiveness of Vaishnava devotion, specifically in Hanuman. So he called Garuda to his lotus feet and told him, please hear my command. You should bring Hanuman from Kim Purusha Loka. Then we spent some time the other day. Where's Kim Purusha Loka anyways? Remember, we showed a little map. Kim Purusha Varsha. Just a little, I'm going to use my hands here. According to Vedic cosmology, the earthly realm is flat earth, or Bhu Mandala. Not literally a flat earth, but that's okay. Bhu Mandala. And at the center of Bhu Mandala, there's an island called Jambudweep. And Jambudweep has 9 tracts of land surrounding big Mount Sumeru that's right in the center of Jambudweep. And that one of the tracts of land is Bharatvarsha. That's one of the 9. And just north of Bharatvarsha is Kim Purusha Varsha, where Hanuman is today. That's in 5th Canto Bhagavatam. And north of that is Harivarsha, where Prahlad Maharaj is today. And then there's 6 other Varshas. So, in Kim Purusha Varsha, that's this reference. So, Krishna sent Garuda to Kim Purusha Loka or Kim Purusha Varsha to invite Hanuman to come see him. A personal invitation from Krishna. Ask him to come see me. Garuda went, approached Hanuman and told him, the personality of Godhead, King of the Yadus, is calling you, my dear Hanuman. Go to him at once. But Hanuman, exclusively devoted to Sri Raghunath, ignored Garuda's request. Angered, Garuda tried to take Hanuman to Krishna by force, but Hanuman, with the tip of his tail, pushed him effortlessly away. He not only pushed him away, but he went soaring and flying back to Krishna Loka. Garuda fell to the sky and landed at Dwaraka, where Krishna, amused to see him, said, Dear Garuda, go back to Hanuman and tell him that Sri Raghunath is calling him. After dispatching Garuda again, Krishna turned himself into Lord Ramachandra and made Sri Balaram become Lakshman. When Queen Satyabhama seemed unable to turn into Sita Devi, Krishna laughed, had Sri Rukmini become Sita instead, and placed her at his left side. Then the three of them stood, waiting for Hanuman at Dwarka. Meanwhile, when Garuda met Hanuman and told him that the Lord's request, Hanuman, filled with ecstasy, responded by running to meet his Lord. He took darshan of the disguised Krishna, Balaram, and Rukmini, and offered prayers and devotion. Very much satisfied with Hanuman, the Lord bestowed on him whatever benediction Hanuman chose. Now it said he got there before Garuda did. When Garuda showed up, he was already there with, much to his surprise, Ram, Sita, and Lakshman. And there's Hanuman. So Ramchandra is very compassionate. And the personality of Godhead readily bestows his compassion to everyone. That's like the sun shines brightly everywhere. Everyone can receive light. But we had some discussion in our morning class about first deserve, then desire. You've heard that phrase before? But one of Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta, used that phrase. First deserve. So Hanuman's deserving. And he didn't even have to desire. He was called, please come. And when he came, whatever you want, any benediction you want at all. Of course, he doesn't want any benediction, just wants the Lord's embrace. Ram showed compassion in many ways. Here's a scene where Ram finds Jatayu with his wings chopped and expiring. And it's, I want to read something because it's very nice. It's hard to capture everything. So the scene is Ram and Lakshman are searching, where is Sita, where is Sita, where is Sita? And they have no idea. They have no idea. And Ram is in a transcendental mood of separation, of love and separation. And he sometimes loses it, and sometimes he pulls his bow, I'm going to destroy the universe. Lakshman says, no, don't destroy the universe. Let's find Sita. Oh, okay. He's a good spiritual teacher, Lakshman. Good to keep Lakshman around with you. Then they find the scene with Jatayu. First they think it's a Rakshasa trick, because they don't know anything about Jatayu and his battle with Ravana. They just see what they see. The two princes continued to walk south, discussing what to do. Soon they came upon Jatayu lying upon the ground. Seeing from a distance the mountainous bird drenched in blood, Ram exclaimed, Lakshman, here is a Rakshasa in the guise of a bird. Surely this beast has devoured Sita. I shall make short work of it with my fiery arrows. Ram fitted a razor-headed arrow to his bow and bounded toward Jatayu. But as soon as he recognized the great bird, he lowered his weapon. Jatayu, close to death, saw Ram coming and raised his head, vomiting blood. He spoke in a strained voice, O Ram, the godly Sita and indeed my life have both been snatched away by Ravana. I flew to her assistance and fought with the demon. Although I smashed his chariot and killed his horses, I was finally cut down by him. Jatayu then described what had taken place. Upon hearing his story, Ram fell, weeping, to the ground. He embraced Jatayu and stroked his head. In great pain, Ram cried out, Alas! Who is more unfortunate than I? My sovereignty is lost, I am exiled, my wife is stolen, and now my father's friend lies mortally wounded, having tried his best to help me. Ram questioned Jatayu. Where did Ravana take Sita? What did she say as she was being dragged away? How powerful was the Rakshasa? And where was his abode. Ram spoke wildly in a tearful voice. Jatayu looked at him fondly. Speaking in barely a whisper, he replied, "The demon conjured up a storm as he flew in the sky. As I contended with him, I soon became exhausted, being old and worn out. Then he lopped off my wings. He sped away with his face pointing south." The bird lay gasping. He reassured Ram that Sita would soon be found. The Rakshasa had kidnapped her at an hour which was favorable for her return. Although he knew it not, Jatayu said, it was the Vinda hour. According to scripture, a treasure lost during that time is again recovered. So if you're going to lose a treasure, try to lose it during the Vinda hour. I don't know when that is either, so but I'm sure you can find out. Jatayu told Ram that Ravana was the son of the sage Vishrava and the half-brother of Kuvera. Although he was immensely powerful, Ram would soon slay him. Jatayu was sure of it. As the old bird spoke, he felt his life departing, blood flowing continuously from his mouth. He looked at Ram with tears in his eyes, repeating Ram's name over and over. Jatayu gradually became silent. His head fell to the ground, and his body slumped back. Ram stood with folded hands, looking at his father's dear friend. He cried out in anguish, "Speak more, O noble bird, speak more." But Jatayu was dead. Ram gazed at him sorrowfully. Turning to Lakshman, he said, "Alas, this bird has laid down his life for my sake, dear brother. It is clear that valiant souls who practice piety and virtue are found even in the lower species of life, and not just among humans. The pain of seeing this vulture's death afflicts me as much as that caused by Sita's loss." A little bit more. This is his compassion. Ram considered Jatayu to be as worthy as his worship as Dasarath. He asked Lakshman to fetch logs so that they could build a funeral pyre. Ram looked at the bird and said, "You will attain unsurpassed realms of happiness, O king of birds. Never again will you take birth in this mortal world of pain and suffering." The brothers placed Jatayu on the wood pile and set it alight. Ram personally recited the sacred mantras and performed the ritual, cremating Jatayu as he would his own relative. Both brothers then went to the Godavari and, after bathing in the river, offered its sacred waters to Jatayu's departed soul. When the ritual was complete, Ram and Lakshman felt pleased, knowing that Jatayu had gone to the divine regions of unending happiness. They fixed their minds on recovering Sita. Going in a southerly direction, they entered the deep forest, appearing like Vishnu and Indra, going out to encounter the Asuras. So here's the soul of Jatayu departing. And there's so many, so I was a little selective and also considering time limitations. There's the building of the bridge, and you see the Vanaras flying in the sky and holding boulders. And you look in the lower left corner, there's the B.G. Sharma painting, his signature of his painting, and there's a little squirrel. Yeah, it's right in Valmiki Ramayana. So Hanuman is busy building the bridge, and Hanuman sees a little squirrel, and he says, "Please get out of the way. I don't want to, we're up to some big business here." And Ram interrupted him and said, No. You can carry big boulders, and he may be able to carry small pebbles, but he's doing to his capacity, and he's as dear to me as you. So there's a nice painting of Ram appreciating and showing his compassion to anyone of any species, of any capacity, of anything. So we may be small people. Some of us are small people. Some of you may be bigger than small people. But whatever size you are, it's not size that's important. It's the effort, the sincerity of the effort. To your capacity, you try to serve. And that's what's pleasing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he gives his compassion regardless of how small you may be. It's quite okay. Be small. It's okay. Be a chipmunk or a squirrel, or some versions say was a spider. Not Valmiki Ramayana, but kicking some pebbles and dust. Valmiki Ramayana describes that the bridge was built in 5 days. The length of it was 800 miles, 80 miles wide. Think about how long it takes to build the roads these days. And it was completed in 5 days. Pretty good, huh? Now, the person behind this problem was Ravana. 10 heads, 20 arms, proud even when he came to Lord Shiva's abode. And so Lord Shiva put his big toe down and pressed a big toe down, and he was crushing the body of Ravana, and he started roaring. So he changed his name to Ravana. He of terrible roar. And there were persons who were advising again and again, so many times, advising Ravana to just return Sita. And he was unwilling to return Sita. Vibhishan was one of them, his brother. Now, one may think because of bad association, this is one of the questions I get as a sannyasi, what about in school or the workplace or here and there? There's some very, very ambitious, materialistic people. And how do I protect myself from bad association, becoming like them? So it's not easy. It's a challenge. But if one has a purpose, and the Vibhishan's purpose was he was quite unlike his brother and other brother, Kumbhakarna, quite unlike them. He was devoted to the personality of Godhead somehow. And so he tried, and the third time he tried, his life was threatened. So he left. It's something like Vidura, when tried to check his incorrigible elder brother, Dhritarashtra, from his bad activities. What to speak of Duryodhana. Then he just left. So Vibhishan left. And here he is with his 4 ministers behind him, taking shelter of Lord Ram. Now it was Hanuman who brought Vibhishan before Ram. And it was after Ram did what good leaders do. They'll consult their ministers and persons, advisors, and they had different ideas. Don't trust him, road test him, different things. But Hanuman said, I know what Ram's going to do. Because anyone that wants to surrender to him, he'll accept them. And when Ram spoke this celebrated phrase, it is my eternal principle that if any living being takes shelter of me even once, saying, I am yours, then I award that person freedom from all fear. Now there's a qualitative built into it. Even once saying, I am yours, it means not just saying some words, but when one gives oneself to the personality of Godhead, his protection is there. And he said, even if Ravan were to come, after all that he's done, with Sita and everybody else and everything else, if Ravana were to come and ask for shelter, I would immediately give it without hesitation. And he had the power to do. So there's lots of discussion and now isn't the time for it. But lots of discussion from the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas on the whole of the Ramayana is a treatise on surrender and different features of surrender. And the last of the examples I want to touch on this evening is this one. This is the boat crossing. There's Guha, this is a devotee in Detroit, who made this painting. He became inspired by the pastime. It's on his wall in his home. There's Guha with folded palms, and he's making the boat crossing across the river to get Ram to the destination he wants to go into, the Dandak forest. This Shinga Verapura, that's the capital of Guha's kingdom in the forest-dwelling personalities. And the scene is he arranges for this nice boatman to bring the boat. And the scene is described where the boatman allows Lakshman to help Sita get situated first. And then after she gets situated, Lakshman gets on the boat. And the third person to get on the boat is Lord Ramachandra, but he doesn't let him put his foot on the boat. Stop. Can't put your foot in the boat. And Sita's alarmed, and Lakshman has got his bow ready, and what do you mean? And Ram smiles and said, could you explain? He said, I'm a poor man. I already have a wife and a daughter. And I heard where you put your feet, you can turn rocks into people. And if you put your foot on this boat, supposing this becomes a lady, now I have another dependent to look after. Ram understood his plan. He smiled. So what to do? He said, I have to wash all your feet before you can put your foot in my boat. So he got a bucket and he washed his feet. He smiled and he sprinkled all the water on his head and gave to his family members. Now Ram could get on the boat. So Ram got on the boat and he rowed the boat to the other side. And as he was getting to the other side, Ram's feature and his face started to look sad. And Sita could understand that it's Ram's nature, as is the nature of a cultured person, when he receives some kindness from another, some token of expression of gratitude for that kindness would be given. But he didn't have anything because he's in the forest. He didn't say anything, but Sita knew her husband, Ram, very well. So she took off a ring from her hand, gave it to Ram to give to the boatman. The boatman smiled and absolutely refused. Causeless devotional service, not do something to get something. But Ram said, no, it's just a gesture. Please accept this gesture. He refused to accept it. So Ram gave the ring back to Sita, and the boatman was fully satisfied with the compassion that because he knew that Ram knew, and Ram knew that he knew that he knew. It was a trick to get the foot wash from Lord Ramachandra. When this was going on, Guha's ready to let the boatman have it. What's going on here? He's very dear to me, and I'm commanding you, take him across. No, he can't get on the boat. So there's many other examples, but this is our evening's set of examples of the compassionate nature of Lord Ramachandra, and therefore in the writings of Rupa Goswami, who's principally Krishna Bhakta, has this very clear understanding that Lord Ramachandra is the presiding deity of Karuna Rasa, the presiding deity of compassion. And so along with the treatise of surrender, it's the reciprocation that comes of giving his mercy in different forms. Different forms. Just like we discussed yesterday about his killing of Bali. It was mercy. because the sin that Vali had done, without going through yesterday's class again, it was punishable. He relieved him of the reaction for that sin, and as a result of being killed before Ram, he received the greatest of benedictions. So externally, compassion may not look like compassion, but it's compassion when it's coming from the personality like Lord Ramachandra. So if one studies Ramayana or the life of Ramachandra in that way, it's very satisfying. It fills one's heart with appreciation of the nature of, the compassionate nature of Lord Ramachandra. So he's a good Lord to be the servant of, and Hanuman knows it very well. So this is a continuation of our topics about Ramayana, and because of Ram Navami yesterday. Let's see if there's some discussion. Sounds like the children having a nice time downstairs. Okay.
Yes. Sometimes a devotee can understand that they're going through some chastisement or punishment by the Lord or the devotee, but they cannot understand the reason. Like in the case of Vali, he asked Lord Ram and Lord Ram explained it. So
Yes.
if we experience something like that and we can understand we're getting purified for something, but we don't understand the reason, how do we make sense of it?
Well, it depends on who you are. Some persons just panic, but what would be advice for us is several things. A Vaishnava is introspective, and they look within, and then we turn to our acharyas and have our acharyas help us understand what's happening and why. And personally, I just shared a little document. I've been collecting messages on fire of ordeal. Fire of ordeal is a phrase that Bhaktisiddhanta uses in relation to a verse from Sri Brahma Samhita. I'll say the verse because it's a nice verse. I love the verse. Yastvindra gopam atavindra moho svakarma, one's own karma, from Indra to Indragopa. Yastvindra gopam atavindra moho svakarma, bandhanurupa pala bhajanam atunoti, karmani nirdahita kintu cha bhakti bhajam, govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So, very short purport, A and B. For those who are not engaged in devotional service, from Indra down to the Indra Gopa germ. What's an Indra Gopa germ? You've heard of such a thing before? I found out what Indra Gopa germs are. They're little red insects, and when they're there, they multiply fast. So like they make a whole patch of the earth look red-ish. Little insects. Indra Gopa. I learned about that because Vrinda Devi, where she walks, it looks like her feet are walking on Indra Gopas. Anyway, so from Indra down to Indra, a little germ, everyone's receiving their pala of their karma. B, and for those who are engaged in devotional service, if there's some tribulation, it's the purpose of that in the case of the devotee is not karma. If it's not karma, then what is it? It's the removal by Govinda for that devotee the very cause of the root cause of material existence is being taken. That's Hari. He takes away the root cause of material existence. And then in Bhaktisiddhanta's own language, he said VIZ, which means namely, ignorance and wicked desires. Ignorance covers the living entity. Ignorance covers the living entity, just like clouds block the sun. The sun is shining, we don't see the fullness of the sun because the clouds are covering. So Maya, or ignorance, covers the living entity. And to take away the ignorance, maybe we're not attached to the ignorance, or we're attached to trying to be an enjoyer separate from Krishna, which is ignorance. So it's ignorance. We're attached to ignorance. And Krishna's taking it away. And when Krishna takes it away, we say, ouch. So what do you do when you're saying ouch? You step back and say, Krishna's being very kind. No, I don't understand the plan. That's okay. I don't have to understand the plan. I have faith that Krishna is kind. And what Krishna is doing in my life, knowingly or unknowingly, expectedly or unexpectedly, with apparent cause or not, Krishna is in control. And because I'm serving him, I have trust in Krishna as my protector. Rakishatiti Vishvatso. I have trust in Krishna as my protector, and he's protecting me from what? The root cause of material existence. He's taking away. He's Hari. He's taking away. And with that taking away, he's giving something else. What's he giving? What's the something else he's giving? That which connects us to our real self. And until we understand that, we may have to go through what he calls the trial, the fire of ordeal. This is in that purport, Bhaktisiddhanta's language is the fire of ordeal. It's Krishna's kindness. Now, somebody might reason, well, okay, he's very kind. Why does he have to do it with the fire of ordeal? Because he's kind. Maybe it could be not fire or not ordeal, or what to speak of fire of ordeal. He could do it some other way, can't he? Sure, some persons don't have to go through the fire of ordeal, and some persons do. Why? Because we're attached. We won't let go. The root cause of our material existence, we won't let go. So what happens if you don't let go and he doesn't take it away? You continue material existence. It's real easy. To continue material existence is real easy. Just keep doing stuff the way that you've been doing stuff. It's real easy. Try to be happy. Try to be an enjoyer and nice. You'll be nice. Be ethical and be kind and be charitable and be nice. Be a mode of goodness person. There's not too many mode of goodness persons around, so let me be a mode of goodness person. That's not that the root cause of material existence is not extinguished that way. Sometimes it takes ordeal, fire of ordeal, because we're attached. And it's Krishna's kindness. So how to respond when we're going along the path of bhakti, trying to be nice devotees, and something happens and it's like, what's going on? That's a place to take shelter. I may not understand the whys and the wherefores and why Krishna is doing it this way. And it's not always that there's some lesson I'm supposed to learn from this ordeal, other than this very basic one. And ordeals are very diverse. We all have friends. And I invite you sometime become a sannyasi who's been practicing Krishna consciousness for 50 years, and guess how many times people come to you sharing what their ordeals are. What to do, what's the cause, what's am I supposed to learn from this? Who doesn't have that? We all have that. And I get it a lot. So I have this little file I send to people, the Fire of Ordeal. It's just a Word document with many other references from other acharyas. So the teachings, they help, but when the ordeal, you're experiencing the ordeal, it's hard to just have some teachings to put some balm on the pain of the ordeal. But if you don't do that, it's repetition of material existence. The suffering, it gets magnified. The suffering's in the mind. Yes, in the back. All the way, okay, but I just saw his hand up. His hand shot up in the air and very enthusiastic. We'll come back.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yesterday, regarding the context of Maryada Purushottam,
Yeah.
you
like that topic.
you beautifully explained Vali's question to Rama.
Yes. I just read what
Right.
Ramayana says, but go ahead.
And you were trying to also address the similar question Rama faced when he had to send Sita to the jungle when she was pregnant.
We didn't send her to the jungle, please.
Sorry,
Valmiki's ashram is a little different than the jungle.
Valmiki's ashram. Sorry, I meant that. What was the reasoning? I couldn't follow. Like, you were explaining that, but I couldn't follow yesterday.
I spent about 2 hours today on this topic because I plan to speak about this topic in Gitanagari when we have our Memorial Day weekend retreat. So I'll let the cat out of the bag if I give you all the answers. It'll stop, right? Okay, but let me just say one or two little things. There's like 11 explanations. One of the ones that I like a lot is from Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya, one of his celebrated writings was a kind of stitched together piece by piece commentary on Mahabharat. Mahabharat Tatparya Niryas. Yes? You familiar? Yes, no? Mahabharata Tatparya Niryas. You've heard of the book? It's a Mahabharata commentary, but there's a section in Mahabharata commentary where he takes the storyline from Ramayana and includes that into his Mahabharata commentary. He's an acharya, he gets away with it. So one of his explanations in that very prestigious book, very prominent, very much respected book, is a situation where there was a demon who had received a benediction that as long as Lakshmi and Narayana were together, he would not be killed, he would not die, with the reasoning that they're always together and so he'll never die. He didn't ask for immortality, but he asked for this, like Hiranyakashipu. And so Ram knew that. So Ram arranged, this is Madhvacharya, Ram arranged for Sita to go to a place where she wanted to go. Sri Vaishnavacharyas say like this too. She had this from Valmiki Ramayana, I forget which kanda. She expressed, when we return back to Lanka, when we return back to Ayodhya, I would like to again spend time with the sages in the forest. So she expressed in her pregnancy, she'd like to give delivery. This is Sri Vaishnava Acharyas write this in their commentaries on Ramayana. She desired to have the birth take place amongst the sages because she liked it, the life. So with that in mind, Ram sent her to the ashram of Valmiki with the idea that this demon that needed to be killed, they would be separate. Lakshmi and Narayan would be separate, and then after the demon and Indra killed the demon, that she would then come back. And she came back, but she entered the earth. That's one explanation from Madhvacharya. There's others. There's 10 more. But he's very authoritative, right? Madhvacharya. He's not just a fellow. No, up front, we have something. Go ahead.
Krishna, Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question is referring to the passage you read from Brihad Bhagavatamrita.
Yeah, nice
Where-
one, isn't it?
Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Where Hanuman was displaying his loyalty and exclusive, very single-pointed devotion to Lord Ram, to the point where he even ignored Krishna's request.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's very admirable, and I'm wondering, is that mood something that we should be aspiring for?
Well, our acharyas don't see. Our acharyas don't. My. How to say this carefully, properly? Our acharyas don't seem to endorse that type of singular Krishna only or Ram only. Now, in response to your question, Raghunath Das Goswami seems to take that view. Krishna in Vrindavan only. Not to the point where he'll flish his tail and send Guru to go flying, but very singular focused Krishna in Vrindavan, and the mood of the love of the Brijbasis toward Krishna, very singular focus. But what does that mean? If you were to say something to Raghunath Das Goswami, for example, about the glories of Lord Ramachandra, what's he going to do? Is he going to ignore it or be disturbed or something? It doesn't seem like that's that singular focus, while at the same time being accommodating for others that have different views, but being very singularly focused at the same time. Seems to be the mood that our acharyas are encouraging us to adopt, to live by. It's something to put a qualified yes. Because love, after all, love is exclusive. Now, for us, the teaching is, since Krishna is the source of everything, that exclusive is inclusive. And therefore within the Bhagavatam, there's everything. So we should be interested in everything because of its connection with Krishna. That's the singular focus. But going further and going further, with the stage of Raga Bhakti, it's very focused, singular focused. I had, about a year and a half ago, I had this nice discussion with some very learned devotees. Is Raga Bhakti possible outside of Vraja Bhakti? The answer is yes. There was a nice discussion. Like Ram Das Vipra, that's a nice example. Ram Das Vipra, the Brahmana that was absorbed in Ram's name and Ram's pastimes, and he was in this spontaneous mood of waiting for Lakshman to come back from the forest to bring the edibles so I can cook for Ram. It was just he was spontaneous absorption in his mood of devotion. That's it's possible. But then it's very, very focused. But that same Ramdas Vipra, later when Ramchandra came back, he was chanting Krishna's name. I see you up there, but you're going to go with the people down here first. Okay? Go ahead. Ram Raghava.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much also because this was beautiful Ram Katha that we heard today from you.
You got to speak a little more clearly because it sounds like it sounds like you have marbles in your mouth.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. Thank you especially for sharing Ram Katha. It was beautiful to hear from you.
People like Ram Katha, I've found. Yes.
Guru Maharaj, one question that I have is, what is our position on Ramcharitmanas composed by Tulsidas?
Depends on who you talk to, what our position is.
So, yeah, if let's say I'm talking to you, then
Okay. And I'm giving you the answer, depends on who you talk to. In other words, Prabhupada made certain comments, and those comments have to do with some passages within Ramcharitmanas where it appears that the author is speaking in personalism or writing in personalism. And therefore he cautioned us, his followers. And then on the other hand, there are persons that understand what that is. It's not, I won't give names, but there are persons that grew up with Ramcharitmanas. I'll say one, Radha Govinda Maharaj. Very elevated Vaishnav. Super elevated Vaishnav. No problem. No problem. Now, that means he knows what's what. When there's this, you don't, it's not the same. I've never heard this comparison. But it's something like, because we don't compare Sridhar Swami with Tulsi Das, but in Sridhar Swami's writing, for a purpose, he includes some passages that seem to be impersonal. For a purpose. It's a fishing expedition to capture impersonalists so they think, oh, he's a good writer, but it's not. Anyway. For you, it depends on your power of digestion. And when you read something that appears to be, because I've not read it thoroughly, so I can't say, here's 1, here's 3, here's 5. There are apparently some passages that are of an impersonal flavor. And one should be cautious about that. If you want to read Ramcharitmanas. What I do is I stick with Valmiki Ramayana, and if I want, just like I made this reference to Kritivasan Ramayana, and there are things in there that are not in Valmiki Ramayana, so Valmiki Ramayana is the gold standard. But I go through people that are through and through Ram Bhaktas, without naming the names, and they're the filter for me. Okay, up front, do we have? Who's got the microphone now?
I have a question about compassion.
About what? Compassion.
Compassion.
Whoa.
Say Lord Ram is 100 on a barometer of compassion.
Okay,
Okay, and
I'm convinced.
say, yeah, and for me, example,
Okay.
maybe I'm 50, 60, maybe.
Maybe.
So, I'm not aiming to be 100, but I believe that murderers and rapists should go in jail. I don't have any compassion for them, right? I think I'm right in that. So my compassion is with my friends, my compassion is with maybe a person whom I read about
Okay.
in the paper.
Pandita Samadarshana verse. And how do you be a pandit when you're dealing with criminals?
Not Pandit is too high up there, isn't he? For common folk like me,
For a common folk like anybody, the human form of life is meant to see spirit. Let's go Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. What does Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 teach us? We're not the body, right? So then with bodies comes behaviors. And then with behaviors comes modes of nature. And with the modes of nature, there's this mode, that mode, the other mode in a mixture. So let me ask you, is the soul the behavior, or the soul the living entity within, upon which there's a body, a covering, that's being moved by the modes of nature? There's a distinction between the soul, and that's the Pandita Samadarshana feature. The learned person, not just you, any person, that's a follower of Bhagavad Gita, needs to take Krishna's words to heart, and that the real self is the soul. And it's not just Bhagavad Gita and Krishna's words, it's all theology. You know, the Christian theology, hate the sin, not the sinner. You know that one. You know that one. So you don't have to like the sin or be compassionate to the sin, but don't identify the sin with the person. What?
because you see the sin.
Okay. You struggle with it, that's okay. I'm just responding to your question. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. How is it possible? You see the distinction between the soul and the covering of the soul. That's how it's possible. Now, how do I get there? That's another question. By bhakti, that's the best path. You can become freed from identifying with the covering. You don't have to feel good about the behavior, but don't mix the behavior and the person. They're different entities. The compassion is how to extract that entity from that covering, because the covering is their suffering and bringing suffering to others, etc. And it's just exponentially expanding. So how to end suffering of that soul? No, because we talked about it, in the case of Vali, Ram killed him. Terminated his suffering because he was going to get a reaction for that sin, that bad behavior, sufficient that it was the right punishment. So it doesn't mean, compassion doesn't mean persons that are criminals are not to be punished. But the purpose of that punishment is for the benefit of the soul. So try to get on that track. Bhagavad Gita 101. Okay, someone else? Okay, up on the, oh, okay, right here. Look here's the microphone.
Thank you. So intuition and gut feeling. I just wanted to know how that, like your intuition and gut feeling, if there's like a term for that in our scripture.
Super soul? There's a verse in 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I'll think about this, but my immediate response is, Krishna gives from within, Sarvasya Chadham Radi Sanivishto, Vatakshmitir Jnanam Apohanamcha. So Krishna gives inspiration from within. And he gives the inspiration to the cat, Prabhupada's words. Don't take the milk yet. The housewife has to leave the kitchen. When she leaves the kitchen, now you can jump up on the table and get the milk. Intuition. A cat. So what to speak of? Gut feeling. It's intelligence guided from, arising from Super Soul to achieve something. that if you really want a really nice explanation, a refined explanation, there's a wonderful book written by one of Prabhupada's disciples. The title of the book is Mechanistic and Non-Mechanistic Science, written by Sadhuputta, and there's a whole chapter on inspiration. And he describes how inspiration is a spiritual event. Now, your specific question is there a Sanskrit term for it? But there's certainly a concept, and I don't know, somebody in the room that's maybe more Sanskrit scholar than I am, knows what the term is, but it's intelligence from supersoul. But it's a really nice explanation. Inspiration.
So listening to your intuition is one way of listening to Krishna.
Yes. He's situated in your heart, and of course, he's situated in the cat's heart. He's situated in every living entity's heart. And how does a living entity become inspired to do what the living entities do? Good or bad? Prabhupada's example of a thief. He's prowling around at night. Inspiration says, not now, someone's coming. Okay, now they've left. Just intuition, inspiration. Because they're tuned in to a certain something. So the inspiration is coming from Supersoul. And good also. And then what to speak of transcendental, beyond good. Which is like back to Gopal Hari's question. When some misfortune comes, how do you see good fortune in misfortune? How do you see Krishna's kindness? That takes some inspiration, doesn't it? Discernment, that's a discerning capacity to discern between this and that. I like your question. I'm going to think some more about your question. I see 2 hands up. We're going to toss the microphone upstairs or what? Come to get the microphone. Come down the steps. Take the microphone for both of you. And then we'll hear what you have to say. And I don't have to ask him to speak slowly and clearly because he always speaks slowly and clearly.
Thank you very much for all the classes. And my question is about compassion and mercy as illustrated by the examples today. It seems like, at least to my intelligence, that all the examples are more about mercy.
More about humility?
Mercy.
Mercy?
And compassion, or maybe compassion and mercy hand in hand. I'm not able to clearly see the compassion. Could you please help?
I don't have a problem seeing it, so I don't know how to help you see it. Behind you?
Guru Maharaj, I just wanted to share a reference on this intuition question. That this is a lecture of Prabhupada on the exact same verse you just quoted. And this is Prabhupada where he says, just right at the start of the lecture, now it is explained, knowledge given by Paramatma from within the core of the heart is explained by modern scientists as intuition. They do not know where from the intuition is coming, and that is coming from God. Therefore it is stated, Matta, from me. Smritir Jnanam Apohanam cha. A small cub, dog, it has not opened the eyes, but still immediately after birth is seeking the nipples of the mother. So where from the knowledge comes? From his within, and that is from God. It goes on.
Nice. Shivram, I have some further thought. From the remember that nice slide with the yellow background that showed the 3 elements of compassion? Oh. Oh. A Buddhist TED Talk person, employee of Google. I'll send you the slide, or you send you the TED Talk or something. But a cognitive, an affective, and motivational component. So you can say, well, that to me, it sounds like mercy. So you want to know the difference between compassion and mercy. That it's a very simple and kind of standard definition of what compassion, the three parts of it, and you can take a look at it and mull it over. How are we doing? Anything else? Online, we just down, and we're going to end with online.
This is from Navya Chanda. When Lord Rama and Lakshmana were entering deep forest towards south after meeting Jatayu, I remember you were saying like Lord Vishnu and Indra. My question is why Lakshmana is compared to Indra?
I don't know why Lakshmana is compared to Indra. I don't know what the reference is either. Whoever is asking this question can send me a separate question, and so I can get the context a little bit. But I don't remember Lakshman being compared to Indra. That's it. Go ahead.
వాల్యూమ్ ఇంక్రీజ్ చేయాలనుకుంటా.
Give it to a teenager, they'll fix it.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. Is it okay to ask a few short questions, Maharaj?
Pick your favorite one.
So, Maharaj, all incarnations of Krishna are compassionate, and that is in the core of Krishna's heart. So, why specifically Srila Rupa Goswami said that Lord Rama is...
Because they may have compassion, but they may not exhibit it to the same degree. The qualities of Bhagavan are the same for all the forms of Bhagavan. Some exhibited more of this, and some exhibit more of that. Some exhibits more of another. Ram exhibits a very superlative degree of karuna.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhupada Ki. Jai.